For my project, I decided to use some of the ideas from the course, particularly the idea of purpose, to see how that could be useful to us when we're considering adopting new programs for our schools. Now, the area that I'm going to be looking at specifically is around programs concerning social development of children, because that's an area that I have familiarity with. But I think some of the same ideas can apply to all different kinds of reforms we may be considering in our schools. Now, lots of schools these days are looking to have some sort of program in the school about how kids get along with one another. A lot of different names for those programs: conflict resolution programs, violence prevention programs, social development programs, education programs. And schools have a lot of latitude in terms of what program they pick. The federal government in the United States may supply some money for things like safe and drug-free school grants, but the school district still has to decide what the plan is going to be. Then in the state of Virginia, the governor of Virginia has mandated that every school in Virginia must have a character education program. But talking with the person from the Department of Education who oversees that program, it is a loosely coupled program. There is no definition of character education. So schools are totally on their own. Now, for me, I've become involved in this kind of work before I came to the ed school. That I was working in schools throughout New England, helping present training, consultation around conflict resolution and violence prevention. Programs that I've designed myself, giving presentations for students, either in large groups of students, working with teachers and administrators in terms of ongoing programs in classrooms. And the more of this work I did, the more teachers started to ask me to recommend programs to be used in the school. So I started doing some research about, well, what programs are out there. First, I started just asking the schools as I went into each school. Over the course of a couple of years, a couple hundred schools, what are you using? And what I found was that I got very different answers. Even though I was asking the same question, schools were telling me about things that their school psychologist was doing in terms of counseling. They were telling me about curriculum programs, all kinds of different programs come over to this broad category. So how do you decide? Well, you can look to the experts. In 1998, there was a report that was published called Safe Schools, Safe Students that gave sort of a top 10 list, rated violence prevention programs. In 1999, Hamilton Fish Institute came up with its list of effective violence prevention programs. Now, looking at even just those two lists, only 2 programs are on the top 10 of each of these 2 groups of experts. If you look to their second tier, a couple more from the first list top tier are on there. But how do you decide when even the experts aren't agreeing? I think that in addition to everything that we've heard about how to judge an effective program, all the kind of empirical scientific methods, I think it's also important to look behind the program to see what is the purpose that this program has as its driving force. What is, if you will, the purpose of education reflected by this program? So what I'd like to do is do a whirlwind tour through 4 programs and take a look at where did these programs come from and what can we at least infer about the purpose of education that they represent. First program is one that I heard a number of different schools in my travels were using this particular program, including the Fitzgerald School right here in Cambridge, which is the Second Step Violence Prevention Program. Now, Second Step is a structured curriculum. It offers lessons, separate lessons for preschool through 8th grade. And what Second Step does is it's designed to teach a series of social skills to kids. Now, where did this program come from? Developers say that this program is in 10,000 schools in the United States, in Canada, and in several different countries. So, what's the purpose behind this program? Where did it come from? Well, it comes from an organization called Community for Children. It's located in Seattle. That they developed this program. Initially, they were organized It was a study in the early 70s done in Seattle by social scientists that looked at, that studied prostitutes in the area. And what they found was that for both adults and for juvenile prostitutes, there was a very high incidence of sexual abuse. And so a group of women in the area got together, and what they did was they came up with a program designed to teach kids how to stay safe and how to report abuse. That was their first program, Committee for Children. Their second step in this effort was to create a curriculum designed to teach the social skills that through research they had discovered could help young people avoid becoming abusers when they became adults. That's why it's called Second Step. So, the purpose behind this organization, in addition to their broad goal around teaching pro-social behavior, is really breaking the cycle of abuse. So, what might be the message that this organization is looking to send through its educational efforts? That thinking in Anion's terms, that is this a reproductive program looking to reproduce current society, or is this a transformative program? Well, certainly in terms of the sense of parenting, they were seeing parts of the society that they wanted to transform. And they're taking a long view of this, teaching kids to affect behavior of parents of the time. So who's this a good program for? If we're looking at we're in our school, we're considering this program. Well, it's a good program for people who are looking to take a long-term view of pro-social development. Not a good program for schools that are looking to establish order in the classroom immediately. Not a good program for schools that are looking to reinforce authority. So by understanding some of the underlying purpose, we can see whether this program might be a good fit or not. So, next program, this is considered a violence prevention program. But within the last few years, there's increasing prominence for character education, teaching ethics and character. And one very popular program around character education is a program called Character Counts. According to their developers, it's in 2,500 schools, including Southside School and Canton Elementary in Connecticut. Now, Character Counts is itself something of a loosely coupled program. Rather than having any kind of structured material, structured curriculum, when in fact what it is, it's an alliance of organizations, things like Boys and Girls Clubs, schools, who agree to abide by a certain set of principles. But looking at this organization, one thing that struck me in their description, they call themselves nonpartisan, which is not a word that I've heard in any of the other programs. Now, even though many of the organizations that are part of this alliance are nonprofits, things like schools, they also have strong support in the political sector among some conservative Republicans, some moderate Democrats, and some liberal Democrats. So there seems to be sort of a political flavor to this organization. Where does it come from? It comes from Delray, California. Well, if you take a look even at the 6 pillars, we'll get a sense of the flavor of the organization. Again, looking at, is this reproductive or is it transformative? Now, a series of ethical values, most of us can certainly agree, these are good values, we want our kids to have these. If we look at some of the definitions, you can see that they define responsibility. First definition is doing what you're supposed to do. Look at the definition of fairness. First definition, playing by the rules. Look at the definition of citizenship. We have obey laws and rules, and we have respect authority. Again, a slightly different worldview. Where did this come from? Josephson Institute of Ethics. Who's behind Josephson Institute? Well, Michael Josephson. Who is he? Well, he's a lawyer, former law professor, entrepreneur, who did so well in his businesses that he was able to sell a publishing company that, according to developers, did test prep for lawyers. He made so much money that he now has invested the money, never has to work again in his life. And in fact, even in his bio, they talk about how he receives no salary from the work that he does on character counts. So, if we look at Michael Josephson, driving force behind this program, what might be the message that he might want to send students concerning society?
And the days are here again, the skies of love are clear again. Let us sing a song of cheer again. Happy days are here again.
So, transformative or reproductive? It seems like Michael Josephson is somebody, well, you may not echo FDR's political views, is someone who's been successful person in this society, who looking to give something back to a society that has served him well. So who is character counts good for? Well, good for schools and teachers looking to foster respect for the institutions of America. Not so good for schools or teachers looking to change society. Gives us a sense of where character counts fits. The next program we'll talk about briefly is a program that I actually found when I was looking for, several years back, I was looking for character counts. I'd gone into schools that were using character counts. They'd mentioned this character program, character something. I did a web search for it, and what I found, I used the name that I thought it was, which was Character First. And I found another program that has something in relationship with character counts, but actually has some very different background as well. Character First, according to their developers, is used in 1,500 different schools, that, including in Rhode Island, Tower Street Elementary School in West Philly uses Character First. So what is Character First? Character First is a curriculum that provides for teachers a series of curriculum guides, provides character cards, colorful cards with animals on them for kids. But if we look at where did this come from, what is this program really about? It teaches another set of ethical values. So we see it has a list of values, somewhat like the list of values from character counts. But if we take a look at what these specific values are, we can see things like enthusiasm, gratefulness, being grateful for what you have. Discretion is one of their key values. Loyalty and obedience. One of their key values is obedience, which they define as quickly and cheerfully carrying out the direction of those responsible for me. So where did this program come from? What might be the driving force behind a program like this? You might suspect that this did not come from an organization dealing with child abuse. In fact, it comes from an organization, Oklahoma City, the Character Training Institute. And why did they develop this program? Where did this come from? Well, actually it was developed by Tom Hill, the CEO of Kimberly Inc., which is a manufacturing company that provides supplies for the petroleum industry. That's where the program came from, being used in our schools. Now, why would a petroleum industry material supplier, why would they come up with a character education program? Well, according to their developers, when drug problems, high workers' compensation costs, high turnover rates, and employee absenteeism force their managers to spend more time dealing with personnel problems than manufacturing issues, Kimray began to realize that their most significant problems were character-related. They came up with a character education program, Character First, for their employees. What they were seeing were business problems, lack of loyalty, discontentment. Workers were not content with the way things were. And they instituted the program. Now, did this help them achieve their purpose? Well, after they instituted Character First, they found morale was up. They found worker compensation claims were down. And they found an increase in profits. So, what seems to be the underlying theme here? What might be the goal this organization might suggest to young people coming out of productive. Right? Clearly an organization looking to reproduce the current structure of society. Who is this a good program for? Well, perhaps Character Counts is a good program that's looking to train students to take jobs in traditional industry. Not a good program for schools looking to foster critical thinking. Last program I'll talk about briefly is a program called the Resolving Conflict Creatively program, RCCP. RCCP is in 375 schools, according to program developers. RCCP calls itself a school change model, school transformation model. Involves curriculum, involves things like a peer mediation program, involves changes in school administrative structure, designed to create what they call a peaceable school. And they focus on conflict resolution and also intergroup relations. Not a term you've heard in any of these other programs. So where did this program come from? Actually, the organization that sponsors it is right down the street from us here. Oh, they're looking to actually change school culture as the focus of the program. It comes from Educators for Social Responsibility. If we look at the background of ESR, it'll give us some ideas about where this program was and what its purpose is. ESR was actually started in the early 80s. A group of educators were concerned about the arms race, concerned about nuclear war. They were looking to foster critical analysis in students. They wanted students not simply to accept society the way it is. They were asking students to ask them fundamental questions about our society. And they wanted students to understand that society didn't just happen, people created it. And that in fact, society can be changed. One of the goals of the RCC program is around combating prejudice.
You say you want a revolution, well, you know, we don't want to change the world.
Might be the educational message of Educators for Social Responsibility. So knowing this background, who might RCCP be good for? Well, not good for a school that's looking to maintain society the way it is. Might well be an appropriate program for schools that are looking to take a view of changing society. So, as we take a look at this, we see the background of these different programs. What do we walk away with? If we're looking to implement a social development program or any other type of program, I would suggest that we take from this one message. Caveat adopter. Or, let the adopter beware. Perhaps that's a little strong. Maybe it should be, let the adopter be aware that if we take the time to not simply look at the promotional materials on their face value, not even simply look at the materials of the program on face value, but look behind. See what the organization is, see where it came from, and try to determine what is the underlying goal. What is the purpose of education represented by this organization? We can find programs that will be a better fit for our classrooms and our schools. For me, what I take from this, both for the work in this class and the work for this project, is an increased awareness of my own sense of values, my own sense of purpose, as I'm looking at organizations with whom I might want to work when I leave the ed school. That I see that I'm looking for the kind of organization that is looking to foster the environment in schools. Not only a caring environment when kids are in school, but also that is looking to plant the seeds for a peaceful and just world tomorrow.
I put together a presentation for the teachers in my school called the ABCs of School Reform. And my major goal for the course was to bring back what I've learned and make it work and do my best to bring the issues back to my classroom and back into my school with the teachers with whom I work. So I thought by putting a very simple ABCs. It's a primary school, kindergarten, first and second, just to lay down the issues and overview of school reform in a way where teachers would be able to engage themselves in discussion, which was similar to what I've been involved with all semester. So the presentation begins with my rationale why I put it together. I decided to put in the school reform tree because I'm the curriculum coordinator for social studies in my town, and I led this curriculum group, and I started with the reform tree. And it was probably the most thought-provoking discussion I'd had with my curriculum committee in just talking about, well, where do they fit on this tree? And then the presentation, I outline what are MAPs, HATs, and ACTs and how they're interwoven into the ABCs of school reform. And then I introduce the ABCs of school reform. And then what keeps me going personally, what are my beliefs that I feel as though I've maintained throughout the 8 years of teaching, but also in learning from this course. So this is the rationale that I just described. And here's our school reform tree. How do you feel about school reform? Where are you on the school reform tree? And where are you going? And it's so amazing for me because I'm in a different place where I was in the beginning of the semester. And I had never heard of any of these theorists. I had heard of Gardner before and Dewey before, and that second class, so we were in a discussion or something, and someone said, "Oh, as Kofi said," and I thought I was like looking in my book for like who's Kofi? Like I had no idea. So I knew I had a lot to learn, and I feel as though I've come such a long way in learning about who everyone is and valuing the classmates here as that effort for school change. So thank you, Kofi, for that inspiration. So I decided to outline MAPs, HATs, and ACTs, and the MAPs is symbolized by a globe, looking at the different reform efforts, what strategies make a difference. There's a hat to represent the different positions, and how are we influenced with